Well, why haven't you systemized? Because I think every business owner that I have a discussion with, we all come to the conclusion that systems and processes are important. And it's one of those things that is a little bit indisputable now. I think, yeah, everybody kind of gets that, especially in this group, because it's something that you talk about. So the next question, and maybe it's something that you ask yourself in your head, what are the reasons that you haven't systemized your business to the level that you would like it? Because I know there are some people in the room who've been running shops for a good number of years, and it's just easy to get stuck in the business. What is it that stopped you? Is it that you feel like you don't have enough time, or is it that you have tried to systemize in the past and you've failed, or it hasn't quite worked, or is it that your team won't follow any processes? So what's the point of putting systems and processes in place? I'd love to, maybe we could grab just one more volunteer to see if there's anyone who might be able to share what has stopped you from systemizing. Is it that you don't even like systems and processes? I'd love to get a share from someone around what, here we go, over here.
Yeah, hi, David.
There we go.
I think for me, one of the reasons I haven't done it is the rate of growth. Well, a lot of us in this room probably started small and started growing, expanding, just kind of adapt the way things are, make little changes as we go. So, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves a lot bigger, and it's like, oh, wow, how do we now put these systems in place where we didn't need them before? And the way the world is now, we need them more than ever. So it's kind of, I think that's what it's been.
Yeah, that's a biggie. I hear that one often where people go, well, what's the point also of putting some systems and processes in place if just very quickly they're going to become out of date? Maybe software changes or the way that we're running our shop changes, and now we've put all that effort in to get a system and process in place, and then it doesn't quite work. So, and it's going to vary from everybody. And I think probably a big part of what I want to try and do today is have you just start to think about it and question why you haven't got it to the level that you'd like, and whether or not there's some sort of misconceptions or baggage around what systems are and how they get into place and how to build a systems culture. And I want to break some of those misconceptions today, because I think that's probably most helpful if we can get you to rethink it and then give you some strategies on how you might be able to build that systems culture. So a little bit just about me. I know Richard gave me a little bit of an intro, and really I go into it in good detail in the book, and we'll organize, if you haven't already got a copy, I think Richard's organized this, or we can get you all a copy of the Systemology book. It talks a little bit about my story. It outlines a lot of the framework and goes deeper on some of the topics. But the short version is I've been an entrepreneur since I left school. I've started, systemized, scaled and sold 3 businesses. I had a rock and roll clothing music store where very similar to Hot Topic in the US, but we've kind of brought it out here to Australia. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia. I'm most well known for my last business, which was my digital agency, which I worked in for 10 years. And I kind of got stuck in the operations of that business. It was almost like I felt like I had a lot of the similar baggage, even though we did the rock and roll clothing music store and we franchised that business and systems was already in my brain. When I got to the digital agency, I thought this business is different. And because Google was changing so quickly and updating its algorithms, I thought, look, if I put systems into place, they're going to get out of date very quickly. I thought my team was a creative digital agency. They're not going to follow process. I thought, I was kind of like the guy at the center of this business where if there was ever a problem, the staff would come to me or the clients would come to me. I was kind of like that knight in shining armor. And I built it up in my head that, this business is different. This one can't be systemized just because of the nature of the business. And it wasn't until I found out we were pregnant that I thought, you know what? I don't want to be the dad who's always too busy. I was working the 60, 70-hour work weeks, and I thought, I have seen other people build digital agencies that have grown and scaled beyond them, and I'm going to do that for myself. So I kind of went on a mission, and over the course of 12 months, we elevated one of our team members. She became the CEO. We put a lot of systems and processes into place. And then she ran that business for 3 years before we ultimately ended up selling it. I won't kind of spoil the ending of the book, but that's a bit of the story that I go through in the book. And then I've now looked at, well, how did I do that for the digital agency? And then how do we turn that into a system that you guys can follow? And I think for me, one of the big breakthroughs I had in busting, one of these myths that I had, I used to think, I couldn't systemize my business because it was a digital agency and it was too creative. And how can part of our business was we used to make videos for some of our clients. And my lead videographer, one time he called me out on a shoot. And I remember we jumped in the car. It was about 60 minutes away from the office. And in the car, we spent the whole time him saying, did we bring that spare battery? Did we email the client to let them know to wear, not to wear checkered shirts because it doesn't look very good on camera? Oh, what's the script going to be? Oh, did I bring the extension cable? I hope I've got that second lens. And we spent the entire drive on the way to this client with him going through almost like his own mental checklist. And I supported him through that shoot. And at the end of it, on the way back to the office, I said, hey, we got to change some things here. Let's put a shoot checklist in place so that next time you go out on the shoot, you can think about all of these things before you leave the office. Let's have a little process here, because he kind of had a process. It was just in his head. And we got back to the office, did this checklist, and about 6 months later, I went on another shoot with him. And the experience was just, it couldn't have been more different. He obviously packed everything before he left the studio. And then in the car, when I went on to help support him on the shoot, he was talking about what shots he wanted to get and the emotion he wanted to come across in the short film that he was making for the client, and what were some of the scenes. Like he managed to, because we got all of the administrative things that just had to be handled for a shoot organized, it enabled him to have some space to think about the creative stuff. And that's when I had that breakthrough where I realized, because a lot of people think that systems remove creativity, when really systems increase the space for creativity. Because if you get all of the little things handled, you can then just be in the moment and do that thing. And it's the same in your mechanics shop. Sometimes people think, how am I going to systemize the way that we're doing some repairs on a car when every single job's different? And it depends on the car and the model, and depends on what accident or issues they've got. Like, there are just so many variables, this can't be systemized. And because effectively that's the creative work, that's the mechanic in there who reads the situation and brings all of their knowledge to that one point in time and then makes the best decision. But there's a whole range of things that happen around that can be systemized. And that's really where you want to focus. How do you get clients? How do you handle that incoming phone call? How do you book them into the system? How do you follow them up, or, reach out to them to make sure that they arrive on time? How do you do the basic service? Maybe there's the initial checkpoints that you go through that, if you just had a process, then someone could check the fluid or check the water or check the tires, like a whole bunch of these things that are just standard operating procedures. And if we can get that into place, it then frees the mechanic up to do their best work when they're in the moment, because they know all of these other little things are handled. So the big takeaway for me there is that for me was a big breakthrough to go, you know what? It doesn't matter if the business is a really creative endeavor. That doesn't mean it can't be systemized.